This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor.
This is just me talking about my personal financial journey. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Enjoy the show!
Welcome to your custom-tailored deep dive. So, I want you to imagine you have this bucket, right? And you need to fill it with water.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Now, society basically tells you that the ultimate goal, like the only real way to win, is to secure the biggest, most powerful fire hose possible.
Right, the high-paying job, the big career.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you spend your entire life studying, stressing out, just competing to get your hands on that massive hose.
Yeah.
But there's a catch. Every single time you upgrade your hose, someone punches another hole in the bottom of your bucket.
Oh, man. So you have this incredible volume of water rushing in, but it's just pouring out almost as fast.
Yeah, exactly.
You're generating massive cash flow, but you aren't actually capturing any of it. Like, you basically become a conduit for money rather than a holder of actual wealth.
Right, a conduit. And that is exactly what we are exploring today. We've got this fascinating document and a listener's reflection titled The Cheat Code of the Unconventional Life.
It's a really interesting thought experiment.
It really is. We are looking at a profile study that contrasts two distinct life philosophies of, well, two different men entering their 50s.
Two very different paths.
Yeah. So what if the traditional markers of success, the house, the degree, the high-stress job, what if all of that is actually a trap?
A total trap.
And what if the guy that society constantly mocks as, like, living in his mom's basement, what if he actually discovered the ultimate cheat code for wealth and happiness?
It sounds completely backwards, but the data is wild.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this by looking at the first profile.
Yeah.
The guy who did everything we're, told to do. The source calls him the traditional middle-class pursuiter.
Right. So this is the individual who he basically followed the societal script flawlessly.
To the letter.
Exactly.
Ugh.
He acquired the university degree. He secured the high-stress corporate career. He, purchased the impressive house, the reliable high-end cars.
All the status symbols.
Yeah, all of them. He probably got married, built a family, and on paper, he represents the absolute pinnacle of modern success.
But the reality, like the financial and psychological reality underneath that shiny veneer is just, it's devastating.
Oh, absolutely.
Because following that script introduces this relentless mechanism of lifestyle creep. As his income climbed, his systemic overhead just skyrocketed right along with it.
Right.
And now he's in his 50s, and the statistical realities of that path have finally caught up with him. He might be, navigating the aftermath of a divorce, or maybe even two divorces.
Which is incredibly common for that stress bracket.
Yeah, and so he's paying this massive mortgage, or maybe high rent, because he had to completely start over after his assets were divided.
Well, an asset division in family court, it doesn't just mean cutting your net worth in half.
No, it's much worse than that.
It involves, exorbitant legal fees, liquidating assets at a massive penalty, and suddenly you're carrying the duplicated overhead of maintaining two completely separate households.
On the exact same income stream.
Exactly. So you have this man who might be earning a top-tier salary, but his actual net worth is remarkably low. Or even, negative.
Because his income doesn't even really belong to him anymore.
No, it's spoken for.
The second it hits his bank account, it's just atomized. It
Right.
goes to the mortgage lender, the auto financier, family court obligations, alimony, child support, private school tuition, paying off marital debt.
It's endless.
It is. He works 50 to 60 hours a week in this high-pressure environment, but fundamentally, he's basically broke.
And this perfectly illustrates that concept from the source, the hedonic treadmill.
Oh, yeah. Break that down for us.
So it's this psychological phenomenon where our baseline of happiness continuously resets after every single new acquisition.
Right.
So you get a promotion, right? So you go out and buy a luxury SUV to celebrate. For about, 3 weeks, your brain is just flooded with dopamine every time you grab that steering wheel.
Best feeling in the world.
Sure, but then adaptation kicks in. It just becomes your car. The chemical rush fades completely, but that $1,000 monthly payment, that remains for the next 5 years.
It's like a video game where you keep grinding and leveling up, but the boss fights, which are, the overhead and the stress, they just get impossibly harder.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
You're trapped in this golden cage where you can literally never afford to hit the pause button. You're running at an absolute sprint just to stay in the exact same place.
And because your baseline reset, you now crave the next big upgrade just to feel normal again.
Which forces you to stay in that high-stress job.
Right. You are locked in. You are surrounded by all these premium materials, but you completely lack the one thing that actually constitutes true wealth, which is autonomy.
Autonomy, yeah.
You can never afford to take a break. If you stop producing at maximum capacity for, even a few weeks, your entire financial ecosystem just implodes.
It's like the overhead is a loaded gun pointed directly at your career.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the sheer exhaustion of living with that gun to your head for decades on end, well, I think that is exactly what makes the alternative profile in this study so incredibly compelling.
It's a complete 180.
It really is. So we are looking at a man the study calls the alternative minimalist collector.
Okay.
Same exact demographic. He's in his 50s, but he is single, never married, has no children, and he lives in a shared living setup with his family.
Right. So the proverbial mom's basement.
Yeah, exactly. Though the source points out it doesn't have to literally be a basement. It just represents this lifestyle of radical, low-overhead shared living.
And his work history completely flips the script compared to the first guy.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Unpack his work journey for us, because it's wild.
So he actually spent 20 years in a corporate job that he absolutely despised. He tried playing the traditional game, right? But he eventually realized the mental toll just wasn't worth the payout.
He saw the trap.
Yeah, he did. And alongside that, he spent 21 years working in retail, hovering around like $15 an hour.
15 an hour in his
Pursuit of prestige. He just accepted roles that offered zero social capital.
But, and this is the key, his overhead was practically non-existent.
Right, none of the traps.
Because he didn't have the mortgage, he didn't have the massive car payments or all those status signaling expenses. So he ended up with ultimate leverage over his own time.
Which is huge.
Like, get this, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when everyone else was totally panicking about losing their jobs because they had massive bills to pay, he just voluntarily took a 7-month break.
He just opted out.
He opted out. He just waited it out comfortably and only re-entered the workforce in his late 40s when a friend offered him a $19 an hour gig.
What's fascinating here is the social stigma attached to this exact demographic.
Oh, society is brutal to these.
Brutal. Mainstream culture relentlessly mocks the single man in his 50s living with his parents. He's often framed as a failure to launch or, just a loser. But by actively stepping off that middle-class social hierarchy ladder, by basically absorbing that societal mockery and just refusing to internalize it, he unlocked a profound mental health advantage.
Because he recognized that the system actually requires your participation to trap you.
Yes. He realized society demands your stress, your labor, and your compliance in exchange for a status that can be stripped away tomorrow by a market downturn or a divorce decree.
Wow.
By giving up the desire to be perceived as successful, he eliminated like 90% of the anxiety that absolutely plagues the traditional pursuiter.
Okay, wait. I need to push back here. I need to look at the math for a second.
Sure.
Because opting out of anxiety is great, mental health is great, but $19 an hour does not magically generate a comfortable retirement.
No, it doesn't.
But the study shows he built a net worth exceeding $100,000. So how on earth is he accumulating real liquid wealth on a retail wage?
Well, the wealth generation comes down to these brilliant, super defensive financial mechanics.
Okay, tell me more.
So early in his life, he actually fell into the same traps as everyone else. He accumulated credit card debt, attempting to participate in consumer culture.
The classic trap.
Right. But in 2012, he had a massive paradigm shift. He aggressively wiped out all of his debt and fundamentally changed his entire relationship with credit.
By transitioning to a secured credit card. But, and this is crucial, he isn't using it the way most people use credit. He isn't using it for buying power.
Not at all. He is using it strictly for algorithmic credit signaling.
Right.
A secured card requires a cash deposit that basically becomes your limit. He intentionally keeps his limit at just $300.
Which is brilliant because it's essentially a hack for credit utilization.
Precisely. Credit utilization, which is the ratio of your balance to your limit, is a massive factor in credit scoring.
It's huge.
By putting a small routine purchase on that card and paying it off immediately, he maintains a pristine credit score. But that $300 ceiling, it forces intentionality.
It's a hard stop.
Yeah, it's mathematically impossible for him to impulsively finance a lifestyle he can't afford.
And contrast that with a traditional guy, right? He might have $50,000 in unsecured credit limits across like 4 different platinum cards.
Oh, easily.
And that available credit, it feels like a safety net, but it's actually an open trap door. Because when an emergency hits, the traditional guy falls straight into high-interest toxic debt.
Exactly.
But the minimalist, he completely walled off that trapdoor.
He did. That secured card is his defense, but his offense is just as calculated.
The investing side.
Right. In his late 40s, he began studying classic financial strategy, particularly Peter Lynch's philosophy of, buy what you know.
Which makes perfect sense for someone with 21 years of retail experience.
It's perfect.
Because a retail worker has ground floor intelligence. They see exactly which products are moving, which supply chains are failing, and which brands command real consumer loyalty.
Long before Wall Street analysts ever read the quarterly reports. So he leveraged that ground floor knowledge to buy equities. But the real mechanism of his wealth building isn't just his stock picking. It's the power of compounding combined with an almost unbreakable holding strategy.
And this is where the zero overhead lifestyle becomes an absolute financial superpower.
Oh, completely.
Because holding through a market crash requires immense psychological endurance.
It requires endurance, yes, but more importantly, it requires liquidity.
Good point.
When a recession hits, the traditional pursuiter is incredibly vulnerable. If he loses his corporate job, he still has, say, $5,000 a month in fixed overhead.
The mortgage, the cars.
Right. To avoid foreclosure, he is essentially forced to panic sell his investments at the absolute bottom of the market just to generate cash. He locks in his losses.
It's like the market forces a margin call on his entire life.
Wow, yes. But the minimalist operates completely outside that pressure.
Because he has no overhead.
Right. If the market drops 30%, his living situation literally doesn't change. He still eats dinner with his family. His overhead remains functionally zero.
He isn't forced to liquidate a single share.
In fact, because his living expenses are so low, his retail wages still provide a surplus. You can actually buy more equities at a steep discount while everyone else is panicking.
Time is entirely on his side.
Exactly. Time and compound interest.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because looking back on this whole journey, the subject actually engages in this hindsight thought experiment.
Oh, the second version of life.
Yeah. He looks at that 20-year period where he tried to conform to the corporate grind, and he views it as largely wasted time.
Which is a tough pill to swallow, but liberating.
Right. He says if he had understood the mechanics of this cheat code at, age 18, he would have bypassed the corporate misery entirely.
He would have just skipped it.
He says he would have happily taken a low-stress fast food job right out of high school, stayed at home, embraced the low-overhead lifestyle from day one, avoided the debt phase entirely, and just poured every spare dime into the market.
And with decades of compounding interest on his side, avoiding all those false starts in the toxic debt, the math suggests he'd be phenomenally wealthy today.
Without ever experiencing a single day of corporate burnout.
It really challenges the core assumption that a prestigious career is a prerequisite for financial independence.
Totally.
Actually, the pursuit of the career was the very thing causing the financial instability. Letting go of that career allowed him to enter what the study calls the second version of his life.
And this second version is defined by an incredible shift in how he finds joy. And, okay, we have to talk about the action figures.
Yes, the G.I. Joes.
Specifically the G.I. Joes.
It is a highly specific, totally fascinating detail in the profile.
So, in his youth, his parents bought him the classic 3.5-inch G.I. Joe figures, right? But now, as an adult with zero financial stress and absolute autonomy, he deliberately treats himself to the modern 6-inch G.I. Joe classified series.
The big ones.
Yeah, and he specifically collects the Cobra faction, the bad guys of the series.
El Cobra.
El Cobra. But here's the kicker. He follows a strict personal rule. He buys the figures, but he strictly refuses to buy the large-scale, expensive vehicles.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this collection actually reveals the profound difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation.
Oh, break that down.
When the traditional guy buys a luxury vehicle, he isn't just buying transportation. He is purchasing a billboard to broadcast his status to his neighbors, his colleagues, or his ex-spouse.
Right, the purchase is performative.
Exactly. It requires an audience to provide the validation.
He buys the BMW so the guy at the red light knows he, won the game.
Yes, but the minimalist. He buys a 6-inch classic Cobra Commander figure solely because it delights him.
There is no audience.
None. Nobody is impressed by a 50-year-old man's action figure collection. The joy is entirely self-contained.
And notice the restriction against buying the large-scale G.I. Joe vehicles.
Oh, right. The strict rule.
That isn't just a quirk, it is spatial economics.
Spatial economics, I like that.
Because vehicles require display space. To display large toys, you need a dedicated room. To have a dedicated room, you need a larger house.
And a larger house requires a mortgage.
Which requires a higher income, which forces you right back onto the treadmill.
Wow.
By strictly capping his collection at 6-inch figures, he caps his spatial overhead. He enjoys the hobby without ever letting the hobby dictate his living requirements.
Yeah, that's just like an incredible way to look at it. The moment your possessions require more space, you're working for your possessions, not the other way around.
Exactly. He found total peace because his desires are decoupled from any societal expectation of growth or expansion.
It's the ultimate audit of overhead. I mean, it forces us to look at our own lives and ask, how much of our required income is tied to maintaining things we don't even intrinsically value?
Things we just feel obligated to keep just to signal our membership in a specific social class?
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? When we synthesize this entire profile, the actual cheat code to an unconventional life isn't a secret investment strategy or, a life hack to double your salary.
No.
It is the realization that wealth is the gap between your ego and your income. The traditional pursuer is exhausted because his ego allows society to dictate his overhead.
He is trapped in a cage of his own making.
Exactly. While the minimalist is at total peace because he embraced radical acceptance.
He analyzed the board game, he saw that the rules were designed to drain him, and he simply refused to roll the dice.
Just walked away.
He surrendered the illusion of status, and in return, he gained absolute sovereignty over his time and his mind.
It is a masterclass in the power of stepping off the ladder.
Which leaves a really critical, lingering question for you to consider.
Yeah, think about this one.
If you were to systematically strip away every single expense, obligation, and piece of overhead in your life that exists purely to signal your status to other people, what would actually be left?
What remains?
What would your personal 6-inch Cobra figure be? What was the one small, unconventional thing that would actually bring you peace?
It fundamentally changes how you look at the game, doesn't it?
It really does.
Maybe winning isn't about acquiring the most properties before the timer runs out. Maybe winning is just giving yourself permission to stop playing.
Right.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take care, and we'll catch you next time.